Is that you think shit way too much? I'm done like Freddy Krueger. All this is the same every single night. Telling me to give up and quit. Just stop trying, stop breathing. Everyone's getting on my case, telling me I always suck at shit. Trying to tell me to let me quit rapping.
What is up, my archvids of chaos? King of the Night, it's about to EX Turk, and we're gonna be talking about where the characters actually come from. And this will actually be the story mode, so we're not gonna add arcade mode or the online modes or any of that stuff. So don't even ask. And we're not gonna use continuity from Dissidia and Dissidia Duodecim either, the handheld game. So there we go. So there's the rules right there. Okay, and we're going to be basing this off the outfits that they were in the story mode. So the story mode is all we're going to be talking about. Now, let's start with the first set of characters. Warrior Light came, obviously, after the events of Final Fantasy 1. Now remember, we're not counting Dissidia or Dissidia Duodecim. We're going to leave those games out. So, Warrior Light would have finished... Warrior Light would have had finished Chaos in his universe and save the world, gather the crystals, and do what you gotta do in that game. Alright, skip over to Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 2's Furion has finished the events with Emperor Mateus and defeated Emperor Mateus and saved the world and restored the world. So that's what happened in the Final Fantasy 2 verse. So, getting to 3. And 3, the Onion Knight, or Lunith, if you want to actually do Lunith, because they're the same exact character, and they kind of are the same exact character, so it makes sense to actually put Lunith into the actual thing. As well, because he is Onion Knight, so both, whether you call him Lunith or Onion Knight, I'm not gonna argue with canon. That is, has finished Cloud of Darkness, and Cloud of Darkness has been beat. This world's safe, so it would be after the events of Final Fantasy 3. Final Fantasy 4. Now this is where things could get tricky, but we don't see Kain in the story at all, I don't think. And if we do, he'd be in his purple outfit. But there's also a second costume where Kain is in his After Years outfit where he's got the unmasked dragoon look. Where you actually see him with his glorious long locks and, in the dragoon armor. So, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I'm not going to get into that, but pretty much, if anything, we're going to have to go ahead and set Cecil, Golbez, and Kain come in after the events of Final Fantasy IV, the After Years. Even though there's no Cleodor mention, which Cleodor is Cecil's son with Rosa, and I've never played the After Years, so I can't tell you what happens in the After Years because I never actually played the After Years. But assuming that we got a costume, even though Kain is not in the story mode, even though Kain is not in the story mode at all, we got the costume where it looks like he's the secondary costume is the one in After Years for sure, because I looked up where that costume went to. I don't know. I go look up or ask people who's played the games. So there's where I get my information from. So. Yeah, I've never played After Years, but I'm assume Cecil came into Dissidia NT's storyline after the After Years, and after the After Years. So, getting to Final Fantasy V. Now, there is no sequel to 5, so pretty much Bartz defeats X-Death, restore the world, and the ending of Final Fantasy V happens. Of course, tragic death killed some characters, because I think, You know, so that happened. So X Death has been destroyed and vanquished. Of course, yes, they were brought back to life by Spiritus, because just like the original Duodecim and the original Dissidia, the only thing I'm gonna actually count is both the gods and here. The gods are just like Chaos and Cosmos. Materius is Cosmos, obviously, and Spiritus is Chaos. Even though Spiritus is actually a much nicer, decent version of Chaos, willing to put his differences aside to help the greater good. So, I guess he's just chosen to be an evil champion, I guess. But, beyond that, yes, Final Fantasy V finishes. Tara Branford defeats Kefka, saves whatever was left in the world, so I guess they have to rebuild after Final Fantasy VI, because after Kefka ruined the whole world with the statues and stuff like that. But all of them got the good endings anyway, so pretty much Final Fantasy VI actually ends right then and there, and then gets transported into Dissidia NT. So let's get to Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII's Cloud is wearing the Advent Children look. So we could actually make a prediction that Cloud has gone through the events of Advent Children. So this was after Final Fantasy VII. But Dirge of Cerberus has not hit yet. The evidence being he's worn his Cloud Wolf in the story. You know, Cloud knows at least a little bit. And he knows Sephiroth, and he knows all the things he knows. And stuff like that. As you see him fight Sephiroth when Bartz is trying to fight X-Death in the story mode. So we can concur that Advent Children has happened already. Cloud has defeated Sephiroth from the refused remnants. But Dirge of Cerberus has not happened yet. You know, since Dirge of Cerberus is 3 more years after Advent Children, so, you know, Cloud has to go back to finish the events of Dirge of Cerberus. So, Dirge of Cerberus has not happened yet. You know, in fact, the only costume change, another thing, the only costume change with Cloud and Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus is that Cloud will end up wearing the sunglasses. You know, not the goggles, but like this. I think it's either the goggles or sunglasses, but he wears like the type of sunglasses you've seen in Dirge of Cerberus. You know, and I guess there's a little coloration and it has a little more wear and tear. Now, seeing Cloud's outfit in the story mode of Dissidia NT, there's barely any wear and tear on the Advent Children garb. So, yes, proof that Dirge of Cerberus has not happened. So, with all that, let's go to Final Fantasy VIII Squall Leonhard. Squall has defeated Sorceress Ultimecia, stopped the time compression, got the good ending, because we all know Squall was alive. I'm not going through that bullshit that Squall's dead. I don't believe that. We don't teach that in our house. That's heresy. If you believe Squall is dead, get out of the house. Get out of my house. That's heresy right there. But anyways, yeah, pretty much, yeah, Squall is alive. He defeated Ultimecia, stopped the time compression, warned past Sorceress Edia about what's gonna happen, so they could stop that time loop too, since time travel's a big part of the game, since Squall was the one who actually technically created C by going back in the past, which is, I'm not gonna get into complicated stuff, but yes, the future is saved by Squall. Good ending. He hooks up with Noah. He bangs Renoa. End of story. Let's get to Final Fantasy IX. Zidane defeats Kuja. We figure out Kuja's not really a bad guy at all. In fact, Kuja was just a hurt child and was angry because his life was short and he had nothing to love or anything like that. He's stripped of everything from Garland. That disgusting bastard Garland. But yes, they defeated Necron, the world's saved, Zidane's banging Garnet. Final Fantasy IX ends there. Final Fantasy X. Now, we can concur that, now, they say that there might be a DLC for Unit to have her gunner outfit. But until she has a gunner outfit, I'm not going to confirm this, so we're going to go ahead and place Titus after the events of Final Fantasy X, where he defeated Braska's final Aeon and Yu Yevon and saved that world. So 10-2 has not happened yet. because we don't have no confirmation or no DLCs to say stuff, we see him in the regular Dissidia outfit. So he just pretty much, you know, saved Xanarkin and the whole Spira from destruction by Yevon and Braska's final Aeon and Seymour Guado. So yeah, it ends right there. So getting to Final Fantasy 11, I don't know Final Fantasy 11 very well, but we could probably concur that Shan Toto comes during the events of the expansion, as we see the villain of the expansion, Kamina, is around. So this would be after that expansion, and it stops right after the expansion, and they both get transported to City. So let's get to Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 12. Now, I have not played Advent Wings, so we're going to go ahead and put Vaughn and Vayne in the events after Final Fantasy 12 original. So, yeah, they come right after the first game. Final Fantasy 13. Now, this is very interesting, because as you see in the story mode, Lightning is wearing her Lightning Returns garb. So, Lightning comes after the events of Final Fantasy 12, after she defeated Benevelza, saved the entire world from the evil foul seas, you know, and stuff like that. She gets transported instantly into Dissidia right after Lightning's return. So all the events of Final Fantasy 13 from 1, 2, and Lightning Returns already happened. So Lightning slayed Benevelza. As you can see in the story mode, she's wearing her Lightning Returns clothing. So we can concur that Lightning came right after the events of Lightning's return. As you see the costume that's in a story mode, and it's not just an alt costume itself, but it's the one she wears in a story mode as well when she meets Noctis. So it happened right after Lightning's return. So the Final Fantasy 13 saga was complete before she got put into Dissidia and T. So let's get to Final Fantasy 14. Now, I don't know anything about Final Fantasy 14, so I'm probably going to skip this, but if you guys know what happened to Final Fantasy 14, since there's people who know Final Fantasy 14 who watch my channel, tell me when Yushitola came in. You know, if you could tell me in the comments when she came in and you know, what time, what it was, an expansion, spin-off, or just regular game, or something like that. So, we're going to get to Final Fantasy 15. Since Final Fantasy 15 music's just playing. Alright, Final Fantasy 15, it's what had to be before Chapter 14. So, you know, Noctis would have to come in the world during Chapter 13. So this is not when he was in his rest. Not only that, Noctis says something to Vayne that he has no choice but to finish this battle so he can go back because something precious was taken from him. Now, what was that precious thing? Not just his kingdom. He actually talks about Lunafreya. So this is fresh. This is fresh. Arden has killed Lunafreya. Alticia is over. They're in Chapter 13 to confront Arden and the remaining of the Niflheim Empire. So before anything, and you notice in Chapter 13 there's a bunch of beds and stuff like that. Maybe Noctis is sitting on one of the beds and got transported to the Final Fantasy Dissidia NT during the events of Chapter 13, so he didn't even get the meditation sleep or even got close to it. So I don't think some people say that this was during the whole thing where he's in permanent chronostasis, but no, this is Chapter 13. That's why he's always moves in Chapter 13. Not that you don't ever see any costumes of future Noctis, not even as DLC coming out at the time. So it's evidence that Noctis came in during Chapter 13. So they're in a Magitech facility while Noctis disappears, fights a battle, and comes back. You know, so he's going back to get what he lost. So when he comes back, and which explains why also he becomes so strong enough to take on the Niflheim Emperor and defeat him in his demon form, and he's able to defeat Demon Ravis because he actually fought battles in here and got strong enough to take on both the two strongest Niflheim Empire members besides Arden. And that's, you know, exactly what was Arden's plan. But nonetheless, yes, Noctis comes into Dissidia during the events of Chapter 13. Just by his dialogue, the costume, there's no appearance of Noctis, future Noctis, any older Noctis anywhere. So may the crystal be with me. If I got one wrong, let me know in the comments. May the crystal be with you. He's pretty much the Emperor Gestalt type of character. So do you ever fight an Emperor
One
Gestalt?
hell of a hanger.